From the icy shores of Scandinavia came a people who changed the world, feared as ruthless raiders, yet respected as skilled sailors, traders, and explorers. The Vikings left a legacy that still shapes Europe today. Between the 8th and 11th centuries, these Norse warriors stormed across coasts, rivers, and kingdoms. But they didn't just destroy, they also built, explored, and connected cultures. Who were the Vikings really? And how did their conquests help shape the modern world? This is the story of the Viking Age. The Vikings came from what is now Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. They lived in small farming communities and were skilled in shipbuilding, metalwork, and sailing. But they weren't one unified group or country. Viking wasn't a tribe. It was a way of life. It meant to raid, explore, or travel overseas. The Viking Age began in 793 AD with a raid on the Lindisfarne Monastery in England. This shocked Christian Europe and marked the start of 2 centuries of Viking raids and expansions. For many in Europe, the word Viking meant terror, as they attacked coastal villages, looted churches, and burned towns. But the Vikings were much more than just raiders. They were also traders, settlers, explorers, and craftsmen. They built ships that could cross oceans and navigate rivers. They carried goods like furs, amber, iron, and slaves, connecting cultures from the British Isles to the Middle East. They also adapted to the local cultures they encountered. In some places, they adopted Christianity. In others, they married into local families and became part of new communities. This ability to blend in helped them influence many different parts of Europe. One reason the Vikings had such a big impact was because they didn't just raid. They stayed. In places like England, Ireland, France, and Russia, they built settlements that grew into towns and cities. In England, they took over large parts of the country. The area known as the Danelaw became Viking territory, where Norse law and language mixed with Anglo-Saxon customs. Cities like York, once a Roman settlement, became a major Viking trading hub. Viking influence can still be seen today in place names, local dialects, and even English words. In France, the Vikings sailed up the Seine River and even reached Paris. In 911, the French king made a deal with Viking leader Rollo, giving him land in exchange for peace. This land became Normandy, and Rollo's descendants, including William the Conqueror, would one day shape the history of England and Europe. In the east, Vikings known as the Rus sailed down the rivers of Russia and Ukraine, eventually reaching the Byzantine Empire. They founded cities like Novgorod and Kiev, laying the foundation for what would become Russia. The name Russia may even come from Rus, the name used for these Norse settlers. Even across the North Atlantic, Vikings reached new lands. In Iceland and Greenland, they built long-lasting settlements. Around 1000 AD, Leif Erikson, the son of Eric the Red, reached a place he called Vinland, likely in modern-day Canada. This made the Vikings the first Europeans to reach the Americas. 500 years before Columbus, rich culture filled with stories, gods, and traditions. They believed in Norse mythology, with gods like Odin, Thor, Freya, and Loki. They believed brave warriors went to Valhalla when they died in battle, making them fearless in combat. Viking society was built on honor, loyalty, and strength, but it also included farming, craftsmanship, and art. The sagas, long stories told about heroes and gods, were passed down for generations and later written in Icelandic texts. These sagas help us understand Viking values and beliefs today. Women in Viking society had more rights than in many other medieval cultures. They could own land, run farms, and even request a divorce. Some women even joined men in battle, known as shield maidens in Norse legend. Vikings also brought innovations. Their longships were masterpieces of engineering, fast, flexible, and able to travel through oceans and rivers. These ships gave them the advantage to raid, trade, and explore almost anywhere. Viking ships were so well built that their design influenced later European navies. By the late 11th century, the Viking Age was coming to an end. Many Vikings had converted to Christianity, which changed their culture and beliefs. As European kingdoms became stronger and more organized, it became harder for Viking raids to succeed. The last major Viking battle took place in 1066 at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, where the English defeated the Norwegian king Harald Hardrada. Ironically, just weeks later, another Viking descendant, William of Normandy, invaded England and won the Battle of Hastings. This marked the end of the Viking Age, but not the end of Viking influence. As the Vikings settled and blended into other cultures, their identity shifted. They were no longer raiders from the north. They became part of the societies they had once attacked, but their legacy lived on. The Vikings helped shape modern Europe in many ways. Their raids and settlements changed languages, cultures, and borders. Many English words today come from Old Norse, including sky, window, knife, and husband. Their trade routes connected distant regions, spreading goods, ideas, and technology. Their exploration showed that the world was bigger than anyone imagined. Their courage to cross unknown seas laid the groundwork for later explorers. The Vikings also laid the foundations of countries like Russia, influenced the royal lines of England and France, and opened new paths across the Atlantic. Their bravery, craftsmanship, and stories continue to inspire books, films, and even video games today. We can also see Viking heritage in festivals, museum exhibits, and family names across Europe. Their influence is part of modern identity in many northern cultures, especially in Scandinavia, the UK, Ireland, and parts of France and Russia. The Vikings were more than just warriors. They were builders, explorers, and creators of history. From their fearsome raids to their lasting settlements, they changed the course of European development. They connected east and west, north and south, and left their mark on everything from language to law. The Viking Age may be over, but their spirit lives on in the lands they touched, the stories they told, and the world they helped shape. These warriors truly influenced the modern world. This is the legacy of the Vikings, brave, bold, and eternal.